Hariharan called me up actually and he said, hey, this young singer has come, he sounds nice, you want to hear, just sun le. So he sent KK over and KK arrived, and I still remember he came with hair like this long. Some connection has been there with KK in a certain way where he said, I have always dreamed that you'll do my album. And I said, pagal hai kya? And he says, ye mera beta hai, BCom failed, usko guitar bajane ka शौक hai. So when he said that, Asha ji popped in and said, देखो बेटा, ये शौक वौक सब अच्छा है, पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दो. She heard the 15 songs back to back, everybody grooving, and then she says, ये album नहीं release नहीं होगा, and everybody is freaked out, क्या हो गया? And she says, ये आशा भोसले की आवाज़ नहीं है. You have to sing it off the beat, but don't make people feel that. हम रहे ना रहे याद आएंगे ये. But these are the phrasing.
Let's talk about Pal for a bit. When Pal happened, because that is again an iconic song that we all listen to even till date. So if you can just help us understand how it happened, how Pal happened.
So there was a young boy, and Hariharan called me up actually and he said, hey, this young singer has come, he sounds nice, you want to hear, just sun le. So that time there was a cassette player, so he put the phone on the cassette and I heard his voice and he said, अच्छा गाता है, should I send him to you? Because in those days I was doing like so many jingles, so I was always trying giving, so like for example, dood 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 piyo, that's Kunal Ganjawala, his first jingle with me. So you know, all young artists trying to find that right spot for themselves. So he sent KK over and KK arrived, and I still remember he came with hair like this long, right up to his hips, long hair and this great smile, you know, just lovely guy and looked like a rock star. He has and he had a voice like a rock star. So I said, wow, great. So I said, kind of wait. He's, you know, so I'll give you a right jingle to do and whatever. And I think the first day, the first time I called him for a jingle was the day his son was born, Nakul. So he ran back home saying, can you believe I got a call from Leslee Lewis to do a jingle. So some connection has been there with KK in a certain way where he said, I have always dreamed that you'll do my album. And I said, pagal hai kya? In those days, album is not easy, ना मतलब record label पैसा डालेगा, वो promote करेगा तो होगा. Today everyone can shoot on your camera and upload it to YouTube and you got your single is out. In those days you couldn't do that. So I told him, we'll see, let's see. And so he was doing a lot of jingles for me. Then Sony Music had come into India and they were looking for new artists. So whatever songs that KK had sung, jingles, I put them on, compiled them onto one DAT tape, that was digital audio tape at that time. And I took it to Sony and I played it. I said, hear this singer, he's a damn nice singer. And they heard it and said, yeah, he's damn good. I said, why don't you sign him? They said, yeah, superb. So when can you do the album? I said, I don't have time, bhai. Because at that point I'm doing an Asha Bhosle, I'm doing Colonial Cousins, I'm another, KK is a young boy, he's just a young, you know, if you go on my Instagram page, and you watch Yaarondosti's original recording, which I've put on my Instagram page. By chance, I had a camera those days and I shot it. You will find that the cameraman is not going to KK, he's coming to me because I'm the celebrity. He should be focusing on KK, but KK तो था ही नहीं ना. He was a young boy, वो गा रहा है. तो ठीक है, little bit. So I finally edited all KK's parts and put it together to be able to present KK more, because that DOP was that guy who was shooting it. Was only shooting me most of the time because I was at that time the celebrity, known fake personality. And so getting KK to do an album, I said, up time nahi hai. I'm doing all the big, you know, whether it's Asha ji or Colonial Cousins, they are doing something at a different level, at the you know, national level kind of. And to do a young artist at that point, I said, we'll see. So they said, see, if you're not doing it, then we'll see later. I said, bichara, you know, because KK is always, I mean, he had become very close to me. He's a good guy. He's a very wonderful guy and wonderful human being and great singer. And I said, iska chance jayega now. Who knows later on, kab come again. So I said, theek hai, just give me some time. I'll work around my schedule because my schedule is very tight. I said, we'll work around, but we'll do it. I'd love to do it for him. There's no question that I don't want to do it. That is not the issue. I said, if you want me to do it now, I can't do it. So then we adjusted our time and that's how I started composing for KK. And I always compose for the artist. When I'm doing a song, I'm always looking at what is the artist ki khubi kya hai. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. I got to figure out what is your strength and I got to figure out what's your weakness. Then compose it in such a way that most of what you're singing is your strengths and most of your weaknesses are not showing up. That's how all the artists that I compose for, I compose it in that way. I try to keep it where they are, muh khola to I sound like me types. So if you listen to KK, he sounds like KK, and Yaarondosti and Pal sound like KK. Why? Because I've written it around him. So once we started recording that project, then what I loved about KK is he wanted to learn every song. So he used to come home, used to sit down and we'd go through the tune again and he'd want to learn, kaisa gaun, aisa. So like for example, hum rahe ya na rahe yaad aayenge ye pal, not hum rahe ya na rahe yaad aayenge ye pal, wo nahi hai, aisa gaana hi nahi. You have to sing it off the beat, but don't make people feel that hum rahe na rahe yaad aayenge ye pal. These are the phrasing. Yaad aayenge ye pal. So those little things he would want to learn. And that's actually, I think most singers have figured out that when they work with me, they feel the songs are very simple. But when you sit with me, then they can't seem to deliver. Then I have to really ragda them to get it right, at least to where I want it. And then they need to add their magic. So a lot of people say it sounds simple when you hear it first, but when you get to the front of the mic, then you realize ki it's not, iska thoda aisa waisa, because that's the whole, the way the song is constructed. And then of course he sung it like KK and it sounds like magic. That's Pal, that's Yaarondosti. It's become an anthem of another generation.
Exactly, it's still an anthem. I mean, we listen to it.
No, I'm talking about. I am the mascot for IIMUN, and that's a group of young kids, doing global work. And I've been their mascot for 10 years. So for 10 years, I am playing to 15-year-old kids, 4-5 cities every year, alone on stage. And they go crazy when it comes to Pal and Yaarondosti. I'm saying, hey, it's your mummy daddy song, it's not yours. But they believe it's their song. So it's amazing how it's gone, transcended generations.
Colonial Cousins, your band,
Band phase,
yes, with someone like Hariharan ji.
Correct.
How did that happen? And the sound of it's so fresh, it's so different from anything that we have ever heard.
So I used to bump into Hari once in a way, at Western Outdoor when we were recording, when he was doing something. So I know he was a singer. I used to see him on TV because he used to sing on Doordarshan, him, Kavita Krishnamurthy. There were all these young singers that were being presented on national network and Doordarshan, whatever. So I know, like when South Indian guy sings ghazals, kind of that combination that hit me. And then when I met him, and then he started singing jingles for me. So when I would do an English jingle, then they would have versions. They would have Hindi, Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu. Then he would come and sing the Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, whatever other versions. So I got to know him, and so there's like a good rapport between us, but we were not really best of friends in that sense. It was like good musician. He respected what I do, I respected what he does, and one day I called him to sing a jingle, and we were waiting for the script, and the script didn't arrive. It was 8 p.m. in the night, and we were waiting script aaya nahi hai. So I just picked up the guitar and I just started jamming, bored. So he started some alaps. So I was doing some blues and he was doing some alaps in that, and then I switched it to country and western, and he continued. and then I changed it to like a more funk thing in a different key. You see, so now most classical people, if you change the sur, then they get a little freaked. They want to be in one, एक scale में ही गाना है, एक ही राग गाना है. Here is changing the rags, so it was like so cool what I was hearing. And then I realized that everybody in the studio was all sitting on the ground. It was a concert. It was the first unplugged. No song, just jamming. And some half an hour later, the phone rang. Train. Script is ready. Arey yaar, to ye gaya. So we figured we had something magical. So he said, why don't we get together and make an album or something? Kuch karna chahiye. So I said, yeah, great idea. Because I was the producer of that time and he was the singer. So I said, fantastic. So I said, but what I'm thinking of having some Western and Hindi, so I'll have to find another singer. So I had, the singer called Parvez Kadir, very nice singer. So I had him in mind. I said, maybe I'll put Parvez and I'll put Hari together and I'll create this, because I'm the musical guy, I'm the behind the scenes guy. So he said, no, I don't want to sing with anybody else. If you're singing, it's okay. I said, Pagal hai kya? I'm going to sing with you. He said, no, seriously, if you're going to sing, then I said, then let's do one thing. Let's form a band. You and me, we'll create our own music and let's go and play it live. Let's go and perform live. That was the essence of what Colonial Cousins was. Let's form a band, both of us, and let's go and perform it live. And I think that's where it started. And then obviously he came home to my place, and then I went to his place, and then dinner, and dosti, and then bhaichara, and then we became the Colonial Cousins in real life.
I mean,
I love him. I think he's such a wonderful guy. I'm not saying this because I'm on TV, but he's honestly such a fabulous guy. And forget the fact that he's one of the most fabulous singers. And I get to sing with him. I mean, that's my magic. I'm lucky, no? Absolutely. How many people get to sing with Hariharan? I do.
He's phenomenal. He's just phenomenal.
He's amazing. He's so knowledgeable about vocal music especially, that you sit with him long enough, there's so much to learn. Because he's also got his knowledge from his own understanding, because he's very intelligent. And he's had some, fabulous people. Gulab Mustafa Khan Sahab has been his guru, like his dad, literally. And his mom is another phenomena. So, it's, I get this osmosis process of all that thing coming through him to me. So, it's magic.
It's magic. Sir, we'll go into your remix phase, because you were one of the pioneers again. I mean, in this space where you would pick up again iconic songs and then remake them, make them palatable to the younger audience.
Right. So that started when I was doing Colonial Cousins album in London. We were recording, and I met Asha ji in Selfridges. I was shopping, she was also shopping. Arey, Asha ji is here. So I remember, because earlier on in my guitar playing days, my dad told me, you'll never make it unless you play for R.D. Burman or Lakshmikant, something like that. Because in his head, Bollywood was the only place. And he was right. That time there was no independent music. So you either played his point was, फिल्मों में नहीं बजाओगे तो you will go down the drain, because all other musicians is about wine, women and song. हर बैंड में वाइन होता है, पीते रहते हैं, लड़कियां होते हैं, सिंगर से अफेयर हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, so wine, women, and वो गाने में ही they are all stuck and they become old in that, and that's playing in hotels and there were no clubs much at that time, they were more playing in hotel. So I used to play at the Cafe Royal at the Oberoi. So he didn't like that. Okay, I was playing in this band thing. So he wanted me to get into Bollywood and become more professional. So one day, so I said, okay, so introduce me to R.D. Burman, if you really want me to. He said, okay, I'm recording, come at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening, come to Film Center, we are there, you come. So I landed up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever. The recording had just got over and everybody left, and there was Asha ji, there was R.D. Burman, and there was my dad and me, 4 of us in the control room. normally what would your dad do? He would tell Adi Bhai, mera beta hai, you know, he wants to work with you, he plays guitar well, you know, he's a professional player already. What is my dad? He's just like me. I mean, I see it. I'm not used to promoting for the sake of promoting. And he says, ये मेरा बेटा है, BCom failed. What are you saying, man? उसको गिटार बजाने का शौक है. So when he said that, आशा जी popped in and said, देखो बेटा, ये शौक वौक सब अच्छा है, पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दो. और ठीक है, गिटार बजाते हो अच्छा है, शौक वौक अच्छा है, बट मेरा बेटा भी देखो अच्छा खासा पायलट बनने वाला था. वो फिल्मों में आके ना, यू नो, लाइक you would have been a pilot. Instead of that, he's kind of dabbled here in this music. शौक अच्छा है, but keep it as शौक. I think what happened to this meeting? You were supposed to introduce me so that RD will call me for his recordings. And so I came back home and I took it out on my mom. She is the punching bag. Your husband, this, that, that. But years later, then RD started calling me for some of his. I mean, he obviously heard from Leslie. There's a guy called Asha, yaar, uska beta bajata hai kya? Asha, like, I thought usko sirf shauk tha. So then some background scores and stuff that he'd call me to record. And so at 11 o'clock, they would have a tea break and everybody would leave. So we were in Bombay Lab Studios at that time. He had 2 recordings going on, one in Film Center, one in. So he had 2 films going on at the same time. So I was in the Bombay Lab setup. So chai break में सब लोग बाहर गए. And my Kida, I'm always sitting with my guitar and I'm composing and something. So I had just composed some piece of music and I was playing it alone in the studio. And there was a piano there and somebody sitting there behind the piano, I didn't know. And then suddenly I hear somebody behind the piano trying to follow what I'm doing. मतलब वो मैं जो बजा रहा हूँ, he's trying to learn that कि कैसा है क्या है. Like again he's playing it again and again. So I said, like, man, I'm just playing my own composition and somebody else is trying to kind of not copy it but play along the same thing and try to kind of copy what I'm doing. So I stopped for 2 seconds. And then R.D. Burman got up from behind. He said, fantastic. Hari, what a shot in my arm. It was like, R.D. was telling me fantastic. So from there, you know, those relationships have always been very personal and yeah, life has gone on.
So you met.
So the remix thing happened because Asha ji met me and then she said, "Mera album karna hai," and I said, "I'm really busy doing Colonial Cousin right now. I'm not free." And in my head came, "अच्छा, पहले तो बोला था शौक, गिटार बजाना शौक है सबके लिए नहीं, पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दो. Now you're in the whole world you come to me and saying मेरा album करना है." Then she said that R.D. Burman had just passed away at that time. So she said he wanted to do his old songs with you again in a new fashion. So will you do it? He's not here. I said, I've always felt, I said he could have picked up anybody in the whole world. Why me? So somewhere I'm destined to do, and I'm a big fan of his. There's no question about it. So like for me, I'm just blessed. I got Asha ji and I got R.D. Burman and Rahul and I, and I'm in the middle. So I was the kebab mein haddi, creating the music, and that's how Piya To Ab To Aaja and Oh Mere Sona started, and that started a whole revolution of remixing old songs into a newer, because the brief from Mr. Lazarus at Universal was like, we need to take Asha ji to the next generation. So can you do that? So not to mummy and daddy who are already Asha ji's fan, to their kids. So if you hear Rahul and I, it's very groovy, it's very modern for that time, to appeal to the next generation. And I think that's what happened to her. Because the moment that album came out, suddenly she got picked up for a film song and she's singing, Yai Re. I said, oh, what happened? She's gone, quote unquote, young again. You know, the young Urmila Matondkar and Asha ji's voice, back again.
Was it difficult for you to fit Asha Bhosle, into iconic songs, but with very fresh an approach that you brought in, and you knew very well what will work?
Yeah, I mean, see, she's also a very evolved artist. It's not like she's just a singer. You can't just be a singer, and you have to be internally knowing where you're going, what you're doing, which are the chances you want to take in life, you don't want to take. So even with her, getting her to understand how I'm doing this modern music, I'm not doing it the old way, कि जब आप गाना गाओगे तो सॉन्ग वायलिन साथ में रहेगा या कोई अकॉर्डियन साथ में बजाएगा, सो यू आर गेटिंग द सुर ऑफ द मेलोडी. आई एम सेइंग यू जस्ट सिंग फ्रॉम योर हार्ट, फॉरगेट दैट. And the music is going to be very different, and the mix is going to be very different. It's not going to be like the olden days like Kishore Kumar and Frank Sinatra where your voice इतना loud होता है जब गाना गाता है, जब and then afterwards you hear the music when the voice gets over. So it's not like that. It's going to be very groovy. So it took her a little time to understand that, but I give her full credit because she didn't get it in the beginning. She didn't get it. She said, "No, this is not the way I work," and she walked out. I said, okay, fine, that's not the way I work either. I don't mean, not in a bad way. I said, then I can't help you, because if you're not willing to come into this new box, you have to fit in this new box. That's the next generation. So she figured, and then when she came back and tried it out, she realized she's sounding fab. It's different, something interesting, this guy is doing something. And then when I did the whole, like even Piya Tu Ab To Aaja, when I did the first draft of that, she's just not used to so slow. She said, "Log kya kahenge?" And I'm saying, "Log, no, it is not your fan base, it is their children." So she didn't do it. She said no. And just after I was going to mix, I was going to London to mix it. And then she figured, okay, this guy must have been trying, maybe I've slipped on something, maybe ask him to do it. So she asked me back, "Asha, that Piya Tu Ab To Aaja, wo kaisa tha? Acha, baja lo phir se. कैसे गाऊँ क्या अच्छा चलो okay, let's record it." And that was her first single. So after that, even when it came back in the studio when we were presenting, she heard the 15 songs back to back, everybody grooving, and then she says, ये album नहीं release नहीं होगा, and everybody is freaked out, क्या हो गया? And she says, ये आशा भोसले की आवाज़ नहीं है. And she's right, because she's so used to hearing her voice, like जब गाना गाते तो मेरा voice loud होना चाहिए, like पुराने गाने. If you hear the old Bollywood songs, voice is very loud when the singing is happening. It's very, you can hear every word and every harkat. इसमें क्या सब हरकत सुनाई नहीं देता. Beat is going dik chik. So it's a very more modern. Again, like I said, I'm presenting it to the younger kids. So we still want Asha Bhosle, but we don't want it like mummy and daddy ka Asha Bhosle. We are doing it in a new design. So which everybody then told her son and all, also explained that this is for the younger generation. And she said, "Acha." And then she made us. So फिर से सुनाओ, and bro, 15 songs we heard all over again, and that is the magical moment I thought when she got up. So just 15 songs ahead, she said ये album release नहीं होगा. 15 songs played again. She gets up, comes to me, gives me a big hug, and says, "Album hit hai." What a mindset! I mean, for at her age to adjust. So I think she's very evolved in that sense. Like I was saying earlier, they're not just singing. You also know, take that risk. Artist होने से वो ज़रूरी है थोड़ा risk लेना. I think, if you are the type that wants to find new places, if you are an adventurer, you have to take the risk that if you go जंगल में कोई भूत आया तो या कोई डाकू आया तो, but you have to take that risk if you want to figure out कि जंगल में क्या है.